Most people believe history is a straight line, a simple path from early humans to the smart devices in our pockets. But the more you look closely, the more that straight line starts to bend, even to loop back on itself. For centuries, we've been told a story about where we come from, a comfortable narrative that fits neatly into textbooks and popular understanding. However, there are whispers, echoes from the past that challenge everything we think we know. These aren't just old tales, they are fragments of a different history, one that has been carefully hidden, redacted, and forgotten by those who shaped the official record. Imagine a world where crucial pieces of human history were deliberately removed, not just lost to time, but actively erased. This isn't a conspiracy theory. It's a quiet truth that emerges when you dig deep enough into ancient texts and modern scientific anomalies. Things that don't quite fit the accepted timeline. Things that suggest a much more complex and, frankly, much more unsettling origin for humanity. In 1947, a young shepherd boy was searching for a lost goat in the caves near Qumran, a remote area by the Dead Sea. What he found instead was a discovery that would shake the foundations of religious and historical understanding. Inside a dusty jar, he found ancient scrolls. Among them was a text so controversial, so disruptive, that the early church spent over 600 years trying to make it disappear. This was not just another religious manuscript, it was something else entirely. It was the Book of Enoch. The Book of Enoch offers a version of human beginnings that is wildly different from the familiar stories. It doesn't describe a simple garden and a talking snake, a straightforward fall from grace. Instead, it talks about something far more dramatic, something that sounds shockingly like a Class 1 biological intervention. It speaks of beings who were not human, who came to Earth with a specific purpose, and who fundamentally altered the course of human development. Enoch claims that 200 Watchers, a group of celestial beings, broke a cosmic law. They descended onto Mount Hermon, a place still shrouded in mystery today. But here is where modern science starts to feel very uncomfortable, because the timeline of Enoch's account lines up with a very strange period in human evolution. At the exact same time, these ancient texts describe this descent and their interaction with early humans. The human fossil record shows a sudden, unexplained explosion in cranial capacity. Our brains got significantly bigger, seemingly out of nowhere. We also see the sudden emergence of complex symbolic thought, art, and advanced tools. Is this just a massive coincidence? Or is it something more intentional, a signature left behind by these watchers? Think about it this way. If an advanced intelligence, far beyond our current understanding, somehow managed to bypass what we call the Fermi paradox, the idea that if intelligent life is common, why haven't we seen it? And decided to influence Earth, they probably wouldn't land a spaceship and plant a flag. They wouldn't announce their presence with trumpets and fanfare. An intelligence that's sophisticated would operate with a level of subtlety we can barely grasp. They would leave a code, a message woven into the fabric of reality itself. And that code, according to this radical new interpretation, isn't carved into stone tablets or hidden in ancient ruins. It's written right inside us. It's written in our DNA, in the very building blocks of life, our A, T, C, and G. This isn't just a story about ancient myths. It's about looking at our own biology, our own history, through a completely different lens. A lens that suggests our origins are far stranger and more profound than we could ever have imagined. The idea of a genetic code left by an advanced intelligence brings us to a crucial point, one where ancient stories collide with modern science in a way that's hard to ignore. We need to talk about the Nephilim. You've probably heard that word before, maybe in Sunday school or from some old movie. Most modern translations call them giants, big, powerful beings who roamed the earth a long time ago. But if you dig into the original Hebrew, the root word Nephil actually means the fallen ones. This simple distinction changes everything. It shifts the focus from just physical size to something about their origin, their nature. They were beings who fell or descended. Now let's switch gears completely for a moment and talk about genetics. In the world of biology, there's a fascinating and sometimes unsettling concept called horizontal gene transfer. This isn't the usual way genes are passed down from parent to child. Instead, it's when an organism gets genetic material from another organism without being its offspring. It's like suddenly finding a chapter from a completely different book inserted into your own family history. It's rare in complex organisms like humans, but it happens. And when you look at the Nephilim story through this lens, it gets really interesting. Across the globe, in cultures that had no contact with each other, you find incredibly similar stories. Take the Anunnaki in Sumerian texts, for example, or the Viracocha in the Andes. The details might change slightly, the names are different, but the core narrative is identical. Celestial beings, often described as coming from the sky or from other realms, intermingled with the daughters of men. They shared knowledge, they created offspring, and they fundamentally changed the human lineage. It's not just one isolated myth, it's a recurring pattern, a global echo that spans continents and millennia. These aren't just folk tales, they are accounts of a profound interaction that left a lasting mark. If these stories are not just myths, if they point to a literal hybridization event, a mixing of genetic material between these fallen ones and early humans, then there should be a biological signature. There should be some kind of genetic bottleneck in our past. A moment in time where our genetic diversity suddenly shifted, where something new was introduced or something old was drastically altered. And guess what? Science has found one. For years, geneticists have been studying human DNA, mapping our lineage back through time. One of the most compelling pieces of evidence comes from mitochondrial DNA, which is passed down almost exclusively from mothers to their children. By tracking mutations in mitochondrial DNA, scientists have been able to trace our maternal ancestry back to a single common ancestor, often referred to as mitochondrial Eve. The timeline for this Eve has been debated, but what's undeniable is that there was a massive shift in the human genome, a significant bottleneck that occurred roughly 12,000 years ago. This isn't just a random date. This period, around 12,000 years ago, coincides almost perfectly with one of the most catastrophic events in Earth's recent history, the Younger Dryas Cataclysm. This was a sudden, dramatic cooling event that plunged the Northern Hemisphere back into glacial conditions, wiping the slate clean in many ways, causing widespread extinctions and massive societal disruptions. It was a global reset button. So we have these ancient texts talking about celestial beings intermingling with humans, creating a new lineage. We have a genetic bottleneck in our past, showing a massive shift in our DNA. And both these things align with a global cataclysm that fundamentally altered life on Earth. Is it just a coincidence? Or is it possible that during this period of global upheaval, humanity wasn't just surviving, but was being rebooted? Was this a deliberate intervention, a restart, designed to guide our evolution in a specific direction? The implication is staggering. Our very biology might carry the imprint of these fallen ones, a genetic echo of an ancient, forbidden interaction. This is not just history, it's our prehistory, written in the code of life itself, a code that science is only now beginning to decipher. This genetic bottleneck, this sudden shift in our DNA, happening right at the time of the Younger Dryas, makes you wonder. It's like a cosmic puzzle where all the pieces suddenly start to fit, even if they don't quite make sense yet. If our biology holds this secret, what else are we misunderstanding about our reality? What if the very fabric of existence, the heavens themselves, are far more complex than we've ever imagined? Ancient texts, like the Book of Enoch, often talk about the seven heavens. To someone living thousands of years ago, this sounded like pure mysticism, a poetic way to describe something beyond their understanding. They imagined layers of spiritual realms, perhaps. But what if Enoch wasn't just being poetic? What if he was describing something far more literal, something that modern science is only now starting to grasp? When Enoch talks about different heavens, he describes them as having different properties, different rules. To a first-century reader, that's just a wild story. But to a 21st-century string theorist, someone who deals with the idea of multiple dimensions and parallel universes, that sounds a lot like a multiverse. Imagine a universe not just made of the 3 dimensions we see, plus time, but many more. String theory, a leading idea in theoretical physics, suggests that the universe has 10 or even 11 dimensions. Most of these are compactified, meaning they're curled up so small we can't perceive them. But what if some aren't? What if Enoch's heavens are simply other dimensions, other realities, where the laws of physics might operate slightly differently? It's not magic, it's just physics we haven't fully understood yet. Think about how our understanding of the cosmos has changed. For centuries, we thought the Earth was the center of everything. Then we realized the sun was. Now we know our solar system is just a tiny speck in a vast galaxy, which is itself just one of billions. And now, scientists are grappling with even more mind-bending concepts. They're talking about dark matter and dark energy, invisible forces that make up most of the universe but which we can't directly see or touch. They're talking about parallel universes, about the possibility that our reality is just one of many. Consider the Great Attractor. This is a real thing, something scientists have observed. It's a massive gravitational anomaly, an unseen force pulling our entire Milky Way galaxy, along with hundreds of thousands of other galaxies, toward a single point in space. We can't see what's there, but its gravitational pull is undeniable. It's like an invisible giant sucking in everything around it. Scientists are baffled by it. They don't know what it is. Enoch, on the other hand, talked about the abode of the Ancient of Days. He described a place of immense power and presence, a source of creation and judgment. Is it possible that the Great Attractor isn't some random cosmic phenomenon, but exactly what Enoch was describing? A place, or perhaps a state of being, that exists beyond our current understanding of space and time. What if the heavens aren't literally up in the sky, in the way we think of planets or stars? What if they are existing in these higher dimensions that science is only now calculating and theorizing about? If we could access these dimensions, if we could understand the physics behind them, it would change everything. It would mean that the ancient texts weren't just spiritual metaphors, but actual descriptions of a reality far more complex and interconnected than our limited senses allow us to perceive. This isn't just about ancient myths. It's about pushing the boundaries of modern physics and realizing that perhaps the ancients knew something we've forgotten. They might have had a roadmap to realities we're just beginning to glimpse. The Watchers didn't just bring new ideas about creation or cosmic law. They brought practical knowledge, what the ancient texts called the arts. We're talking about things like metallurgy, which is advanced metalworking, astrology, which was their version of astronomy, and even weaponry. These weren't just abstract concepts. They were concrete skills and technologies that changed human civilization. Now let's look at one of the biggest mysteries in the world, the Great Pyramid of Giza. For centuries we've been told it was a tomb for a pharaoh. But what if that's too simple? What if we look at it not as a burial site, but as a giant machine, a resonant cavity? Imagine a structure designed to capture, amplify, and even transmit energy, Suddenly, the magic of the ancients starts to look a lot like the physics of the future. Think about the precision of its construction, the alignment with true north, the exact measurements, the choice of materials like granite and limestone, which have specific electrical properties. These aren't random choices for a tomb. These are engineering decisions for something much more complex. We're going to show you a frequency mapping that suggests these structures and others like them around the world were built to communicate with something. Outside. Imagine a world where sound isn't just something you hear, but something you can use to move objects, to heal, or even to transmit information across vast distances. Modern science is only now scratching the surface of this. We have things like ultrasonic levitation, where sound waves can lift small objects. We have therapeutic ultrasound, used in medicine. What if the ancients had a much deeper, more sophisticated understanding of these principles? The Great Pyramid, with its carefully designed chambers and passages, could have been an enormous acoustic device. The king's chamber, for example, is made of solid red granite. When certain frequencies are introduced, it resonates powerfully. Some researchers believe these structures could have generated standing waves, creating a powerful energy field. This isn't science fiction, this is based on the known properties of materials and acoustics. And it's not just the pyramids. Across the globe, we find ancient sites like Stonehenge, Göbekli Tepe, and various megalithic structures that show incredible precision and an understanding of geometry and astronomy that puzzles modern engineers. They often incorporate materials with high quartz content, which is piezoelectric, meaning it generates an electric charge when subjected to mechanical stress, or vice versa. Could these sites have been part of a global network, a prehistoric power grid, or a communication system? The idea that ancient civilizations possessed advanced technology isn't new, but it's often dismissed as fringe theory. However, when you stop seeing these artifacts as primitive and start looking at them through the lens of advanced physics, a different picture emerges. The magic isn't magic at all. It's just technology we haven't rediscovered or fully understood yet. Consider the legends of Vimanas in ancient Indian texts, flying machines described with incredible detail. Or the Ark of the Covenant in biblical texts, which some interpret as a powerful electrical device. These aren't just stories. They are descriptions of devices that in many ways parallel our own modern inventions. The Watchers, according to Enoch, taught humanity these secrets. They didn't just tell them, they showed them how to build and create. If these beings were indeed from a more advanced civilization, their gifts wouldn't be simple tools, but sophisticated technologies that would have seemed miraculous to early humans. They would have been teaching them principles of physics and engineering that humanity would take millennia to grasp on its own. This isn't about promoting a conspiracy theory. It's about asking critical questions and looking at ancient texts and structures with a fresh perspective, informed by modern scientific understanding. What if the blueprints for these forbidden technologies were right in front of us, hidden in plain sight within the very monuments we marvel at? What if the ancients weren't just primitive people sacrificing to gods, but inheritors of a knowledge that allowed them to manipulate the very fabric of reality, a knowledge passed down from beings not of this world? This changes everything we thought we knew about human history and our true potential. We are the only species on Earth that doesn't quite fit its environment. Think about it. We have back pain, joint issues, and a whole host of physical problems that seem to stem from our upright posture and the gravity of this planet. It's almost like our bodies weren't originally designed for these specific conditions. We're constantly fighting against something fundamental in our physical makeup. And it's not just our physical bodies. We also have anxiety, a constant underlying tension, and a feeling that we are always rushing against time. It's as if we are tuned to a different temporal rhythm, a different pace of existence than the natural world around us. Animals in the wild don't seem to experience existential dread or chronic stress in the same way we do. Could it be that our internal clocks, our very psychological fabric, are calibrated for a different kind of reality, a different speed of life? This feeling of being slightly out of sync with our surroundings is a unique human experience. For a long time, science and scripture seem to be at war, each claiming ultimate truth and dismissing the other. But what if they were just two different languages describing the same fundamental reality? What if the ancient texts, with their stories of gods and angels, were simply trying to explain complex scientific concepts in a way that people of their time could understand? And what if modern science, with its equations and observations, is finally catching up to those ancient insights? Imagine a future where these two great pillars of human understanding finally shake hands, acknowledging each other's validity. Science provides the how, the mechanisms, the physics, the biology. It tells us how things work, how the universe functions, how life evolves. But Scripture, in its own way, provides the who and the why. It speaks to purpose, to meaning, to our origins in a grander narrative. When we look at the Book of Enoch, for instance, through this new lens, it stops being a collection of myths and starts looking like a historical record, albeit one written in symbolic language. The Watchers are no longer just mythical beings. They become advanced intelligences who interacted with early humanity. Their descent isn't just a story. It's an event that left a profound impact on our genetic makeup and our technological development. This isn't about throwing out everything we thought we knew. It's about integrating new information, about expanding our understanding. For centuries, we've been told to choose a side, faith or reason, but perhaps the real truth lies in their convergence. Perhaps the deepest mysteries of our existence can only be unraveled when we allow both scientific inquiry and ancient wisdom to inform each other. Consider the implications of this reconciliation. If ancient texts contain descriptions of advanced technology and non-human intelligence, and if modern science is now finding evidence that supports some of these claims, then our entire understanding of human history needs a serious update. It means that the linear progression of human development, from caves to space travel, might be missing some crucial chapters. It suggests that humanity might have received a significant boost or intervention at key points in its history, influencing our evolution, our consciousness, and our technological trajectory. This idea isn't meant to diminish humanity's achievements, but rather to place them within a much larger, more complex cosmic narrative. It adds a layer of depth and mystery to our story that is both humbling and incredibly exciting. So, when we see images of ancient pyramids that resonate with specific frequencies or read about flying machines in ancient texts, we shouldn't dismiss them as fantasies. We should ask, what if they are clues? What if they are echoes of a time when the line between what we call science and what we call spirituality was much blurrier, or perhaps non-existent? This reconciliation isn't just about ancient history, it's about our future. It's about understanding who we truly are and where we are going. We are the only species on Earth that doesn't fit its environment. Think about it. Our bodies ache from back pain, a direct result of walking upright in a gravitational field we seem ill-suited for. It's like we were designed for a different planet, a place with less pull, where our skeletal structure would feel more at home. Then there's our anxiety, a constant hum of unease that seems to permeate modern life. Could it be that we are tuned to a different temporal rhythm, a different speed of existence than the one we find ourselves in now? What if our internal clocks, our very consciousness, are out of sync with Earth's natural frequencies? This isn't just poetic musing, it's a growing convergence. Science and scripture, two seemingly opposing forces are finally shaking hands. They are beginning to acknowledge each other's validity, filling in the gaps that neither could explain alone. Science provides the how, the intricate mechanisms of the universe, the biological processes that govern life, the laws of physics that dictate reality. It gives us the empirical data, the observable facts, but Scripture, in its ancient wisdom, often provides the who and the why. It speaks to purpose, to meaning, to our origins in a grander, more spiritual narrative. It offers a framework for understanding our place in the cosmos that science, with its focus on the measurable, sometimes struggles to articulate. When we look at the Book of Enoch through this combined lens, it stops being a collection of fantastical myths. Instead, it begins to resemble a historical record, albeit one written in symbolic and metaphorical language. The Watchers, those mysterious beings who descended upon Mount Hermon, are no longer just mythical figures. They transform into advanced intelligences, entities that actively interacted with early humanity. Their descent isn't merely a story, it becomes an event, a critical juncture that left a profound and lasting impact on our genetic makeup, our consciousness, and even the trajectory of our technological development. It suggests a deliberate intervention, a moment when our path was altered by an external force. This isn't about discarding everything we thought we knew about history or human evolution. It's about a massive integration of new information, an expansion of our understanding that challenges long-held beliefs. For centuries, humanity has been presented with a stark choice: faith or reason, science or spirituality. But perhaps the ultimate truth, the deepest understanding of our existence, lies not in choosing one over the other, but in their powerful convergence. Perhaps the most profound mysteries of our existence can only be unraveled when we allow both rigorous scientific inquiry and the profound depths of ancient wisdom to inform and enrich each other. Imagine the breakthroughs, the paradigm shifts that could occur if we embrace this holistic approach. Consider the far-reaching implications of such a reconciliation. If ancient texts, once dismissed as mere folklore, contain verifiable descriptions of advanced technology and non-human intelligence, and if modern science is now unearthing evidence that corroborates some of these claims, then our entire established understanding of human history requires a serious and immediate update. It means that the seemingly linear progression of human development, from rudimentary caves to sophisticated space travel, might be missing some absolutely crucial chapters. It suggests a more complex, interwoven narrative than we ever dared to imagine. It strongly implies that humanity might have received a significant boost, a deliberate intervention at pivotal points in its history. This influence could have shaped our evolution, accelerated the development of our consciousness, and even guided our technological trajectory in ways we are only just beginning to comprehend. This idea isn't intended to diminish humanity's incredible achievements or our inherent ingenuity. Rather, it seeks to place them within a much larger, more intricate cosmic narrative. It adds layers of depth and profound mystery to our story, making it both incredibly humbling and profoundly exciting. It opens up a universe of possibilities for understanding ourselves and our place within it. So, when we observe images of ancient pyramids that seem to resonate with specific frequencies, or when we read about descriptions of what sounds suspiciously like flying machines in texts thousands of years old, we should resist the urge to dismiss them as mere fantasies or primitive imaginings. Instead, we should ask a fundamental question: what if these are not just stories, but clues? What if they are echoes, faint but persistent, of a time when the distinction between what we label science and what we call spirituality was either much blurrier or perhaps entirely non-existent? This reconciliation isn't just an academic exercise in ancient history. It holds profound implications for our future. It's about understanding who we truly are, where we came from, and more importantly, where we are headed as a species. The journey ahead promises to be far more extraordinary than we ever conceived. The mystery of our origins isn't a puzzle to be solved. It's an invitation. We are a species with amnesia, waking up in a laboratory we thought was a temple. This journey of discovery, blending ancient texts with modern science, isn't just about rewriting history. It's about re-evaluating our present and reshaping our future. It forces us to confront uncomfortable truths and embrace possibilities that stretch the limits of our current understanding. For too long, we have confined ourselves to a narrow understanding of reality, dismissing anything that doesn't fit neatly into our established frameworks. But the universe, it seems, is far more complex and wondrous than we ever dared to imagine. If the Watchers are real, they never left. They're just waiting for us to understand the math they left in our marrow. This math isn't just about numbers and equations. It's about the fundamental principles of existence encoded within our very being, within the fabric of the universe itself. It's the language of creation, a blueprint that guides everything from the smallest atom to the largest galaxy. And perhaps the ancient texts, dismissed as myths, are simply a different dialect of this same universal language, waiting for us to learn how to read them properly. Consider the implications if the heavenly beings described in ancient scriptures were not supernatural entities, but rather advanced intelligences operating on principles we are only now beginning to grasp. What if their miracles were simply demonstrations of technology so far beyond our own that it appeared magical? This perspective doesn't diminish the awe and wonder, it simply shifts it from the realm of the divine to the boundless potential of advanced science. It suggests that the line between science and what we perceive as magic is merely a reflection of our current technological limitations. The idea that we are part of an ongoing experiment can be unsettling, but it can also be profoundly empowering. It suggests a purpose, a grand design that extends far beyond our individual lives. It implies that our struggles, our achievements, and our very existence are part of a larger narrative, a cosmic drama unfolding on a scale we can barely comprehend. This perspective encourages us to look at ourselves and our world with renewed curiosity, to question everything, and to seek deeper meaning in the patterns and anomalies that surround us. This reconciliation of ancient wisdom and modern scientific discovery isn't about proving one right and the other wrong. It's about recognizing that both are valuable pathways to truth, each offering unique insights into the same fundamental reality. When we combine the intuitive wisdom of ancient traditions with the rigorous methodology of modern science, we unlock a more complete, more nuanced understanding of our place in the cosmos. It's a synthesis that has the potential to usher in a new era of enlightenment, where the boundaries between disciplines dissolve and knowledge flows freely, unconstrained by dogma or prejudice. The question isn't, where do we come from? The question is, what happens when they return to check on the experiment? This isn't a call to fear, but a call to readiness. It's an invitation to awaken to our true potential, to shed the limitations of our past, and to embrace a future that is far grander and more mysterious than anything we have yet imagined. It's about becoming conscious participants in our own evolution, understanding the math in our marrow, and preparing ourselves for whatever comes next. The awakening has begun, and the journey ahead promises to be nothing short of revolutionary. We are on the cusp of a profound shift in human consciousness, a moment where the ancient past converges with a technologically advanced future, revealing a truth far more extraordinary than any myth.